South Africa has a brand new global queen. And if you know how I feel about pageants these days, especially when let me say, the standards, the rounds, everything is so tough. She is a Soweto-born pageant queen who has now just become the first black woman ever to be crowned Mrs. World, shattering a 40-year ceiling. And this took place recently at the finale in Las Vegas. And she joins us in studio, Tshego Gaelae. But before we even give her a proper welcome, take a listen to this.
And our first runner-up is Mrs. Sri Lanka, Mrs. South Africa. You are the new Mrs. World.
Mrs. South Africa, the new Mrs. World, congratulations to you. How are you feeling? And welcome to the show.
Sure. Thank you so much. I'm still so elated. I'm still having like a whirlwind of emotions. I still go back to that moment and I can literally feel how the stage felt under my feet.
Yes.
What the atmosphere smelled like. I'm just still so elated. I'm so elated.
Why was it so important to you to even get into the pageantry space?
Yeah. So my pageantry space is still like really young.
Yes.
I haven't always been into pageants. In fact, entering Mrs. South Africa, that was my first time entering a pageant. Yes. I've tried entering Miss South Africa years ago, but it didn't really I wasn't successful in any way. I wasn't even casted. I was nowhere near like successful. And then years later, probably at least 10 or 12 years later, I was feeling very stagnant in my life. And I needed to just like shift the trajectory of my life, sort of. And a friend of mine, I remember we were sitting at the office and she said to me, just enter Mrs. South Africa. And I said, why?
Oh, because now Mrs. Before
yes,
when you were entering,
I was a miss.
You were a miss.
I was a miss.
Yes.
So now I'm a Mrs. I have a child. I feel like old news. And my friend is like, just enter Mrs. South Africa. I was like, why? What is that? I'm married. I have a child. That's not going to work for me. And she was like, just look it up. Check what it's about. And I looked it up and I heard some of the previous queens sharing their stories that I related to. I was like, but she's talking about me and this is her life. So if it moved her in the way that it moved her, I don't have to win, but I can get some crowning moments out of the journey and see where it takes me. So I decided to take a chance and I entered Mrs. South Africa. And when I was casted and I became a semi-finalist, I was like, oh, okay, God's got jokes. Let's see how far this takes us. I went through, became a finalist in the top 30. And I was like, okay, this is getting a little bit serious. So, and lo and behold, I won. I've never fancied myself a pageant girl. I don't know what it means to be a pageant girl. I just know how to be me. And in the same way, it was the same approach when I went to Las Vegas. I only know how to be me. I only know how to look like this. I only know, and that's the me that I took to Vegas, you know. I didn't change the strategy. It was still the same. Just be authentic. Just bring your best self and allow yourself to be transformed by the journey. It's not so much the destination that's important or that's the end all or be all, but it's the journey to get there and all the crowning moments that come with that journey in particular. And I guess it took me all the way to the top, you know.
Who was the first person you called? Because that girl at the office, I'm thinking about her, your office friend.
Yeah. She's my forever, that one. She is my absolute forever. I made sure that I call her before I slept. I called the rest of, so my sister was with me in Vegas and she nearly fainted on the stage. She absolutely nearly
When your
fainted.
name was called.
No, she absolutely nearly fainted. She was just like, what is happening? And she video called the rest of the family, my dad, my
Yes.
husband, my sisters, their husbands, the kids. So, and it was 5 a.m, I think, for South Africa. So it was a very big wake up call
Yes.
for everyone. And yeah, those were the first people that we broke the news to, and we've been on a high since. We've been on a high since.
What were you doing that you were now in an office job? Because what I love about what you shared about your story, I mean, we do get, in inverted commas, pageant girls in the sense that they were sort of groomed from when they were kids, which I went through that experience of looking like a doll, or look okay, Miss what, right? That you're groomed into it.
Yes.
Now you sort of went the one time and then you were like, not for me. Okay, cool. Didn't work out. Went about your life. So what were you doing in your life? And what was that stagnancy you were feeling?
So I am actually an attorney.
Girl!
Yeah. So I'm an attorney. I was working in my 9 to 5. I was a triple BE and industrial relations manager for an ICT company in Midrand. And yeah, I mean, every day didn't look too different to the one day didn't look too different to the next, you know. Yeah, and I thought I've always toyed with the idea of being my own boss, you know,
Yes.
doing my own thing, but never brave enough to take the plunge. And I think that's what Mrs. South Africa pushed me into, because I was now in spaces with women that said, but we do it scared. Every
Yes.
single day we're scared, but we sleep and the bills are paid and the work is done, the job is done. So we do it scared. And I think that's the exact push that I needed, because then I launched my own legal consultancy.
Hold up. We're at the part where you're working in an office. There you are, right? And then this person says enter. At what point do you say to your boss, listen, I'm going to need some time off
Sure.
work? Because I know it's a lot of work
Yeah.
in the build up. There are judging rounds. You need to prepare your outfits. It is not a cheap exercise. Sorry,
So-
I don't mean to laugh. I'm just imagining your boss
Yeah.
being like, she won.
And then she's gone.
leaving us. And she's breaking up with us.
No, like during the build up, there's a lot of things that you are required to do, because you're building your brand as well.
Yes.
You're building your brand. I'd need to like shoot content. So
Yes.
I'd be like, I'm just going out for lunch. I'll be back. Kante, I'm back 3 hours later.
Yes.
You know? So, and he would casually like, okay, it's fine.
Is this your boss?
This was my boss. Okay, it's fine. And then at the end of the year, after I won, he like, this is now Christmas party. I was crowned in November. This is now the office Christmas party. And he's like, you know, we also want to congratulate our very own Mrs. South Africa, who won Mrs. South Africa. Don't think I didn't notice those 3-hour lunch breaks. I was like, what? So yeah, like he was very understanding, and eventually I think he saw it coming. He did, when I had a very frank conversation with him to say that I'm not leaving you, I'm just choosing me. You know, I'm really not leaving you, I'm choosing me.
You're giving people lines to break up with people to say, listen, I'm
not
not
leaving
leaving
you.
you.
It's not you,
I'm
it's me."
choosing me. That's what you say. Look, I think that is so lovely that you had a boss that was
I really
accommodative.
did.
I think about somebody like Ndavi Nokeri, who quit her job on a whim, like just taking a chance to be part of Miss South Africa, not knowing how it was going to end up. And that's why I completely admire the bravery that comes with all of you ladies that participate in that. So now you're with these women from around the world. What are some of the fascinating stories you encountered? Because I do feel like Mrs. South Africa is a completely different journey to a Miss South Africa, where ladies can be super young and very much at the beginning. Some of them are students, very much at the beginning of their careers, whereas Mrs. South Africa and Mrs. A World, you are now engaging with women who maybe like you are like, I was looking for something. There was something missing.
You know, like We were actually saying it last week while I was still in Vegas with some of the ladies that we shared the pageant week with. Pageants have such bad PR because there's this whole pageant girls are catty and pageant girls are this. But in all honesty, my experience has been that ladies, especially Mrs. South Africa, Mrs. World, pageant queens or pageant ladies give each other a grace that you just don't get anywhere else. Because it's almost as if we understand the struggle. And I can only speak from the Mrs. perspective because that's the only life that I know. But we, in our personal lives, we're running businesses, we are employees, we are wives, we are mothers, we are sisters, we are caregivers, and still have to show up and, be your best self and be perky and be happy and, and it's not always easy. And so pageant queens in the spaces that I have encountered have given me and each other a grace that we just don't receive anywhere else because we understand, we know the struggle. I know how you feel, you know how I feel. If I'm not very chirpy and smiley at the moment, it's okay. It's really okay. You need to have a moment, it's okay.
And I can vouch from what I have observed. There is a sisterhood that comes together because you all understand the pains of having to walk up and down, making sure you look good in your swimsuit round. People end up sharing things. So I firmly believe that our natural thing to do is to have a sisterhood in an experience that is so unique. It's not likely that you're going to meet people who have been in a pageant. It's like so unique to you as a group. How difficult was it being away from being a mother and being a wife to do this thing? Did you ever have moments where you were saying to yourself, is this even worth it? Because the fear might be there of like, if I don't come home with the crown, it's like I went for nothing.
Yeah, sure. Firstly, it's not like going to participate at Mrs. South Africa at Empress Palace, where if the popo hits the fan and I really need to get out, I'm getting into my car and I'm driving home. I'm in Las Vegas, so I can't waste the moment.
Which, funny enough, is also very Empress Palace type of place.
It is.
It's a very Empress Palace type of place.
It's literally like, I'm far. I'm in Vegas, so I have to use the opportunity that I'm given to the max. Secondly, and this, like, a lot of people will come at me, I'm sure, I missed my child's fifth birthday. While I was in
why
Vegas.
Would people come after you?
Oh, what a mother.
No.
Mother of the year goes to Vegas to participate in a pageant and misses her child. You know how people are.
Yes.
People will be people, but I missed my child's fifth birthday. And I think that was one of the things that made me decide that I have to give the experience my all. Whether I win, whether I lose, that's okay. As long as I've given it my all, because I can't miss important things at home in vain.
Yes.
I can't just miss them in vain. Even if I hadn't even if I hadn't been crowned, actually. There's a lot of crowning moments that I can tell you about outside of being crowned. The sisterhood, the first runner-up, Mrs. Sri Lanka.
You guys were housemates.
We were
roommates.
We were roommates. We were roommates. And I'm keeping that girl forever, probably, because we got on like a house on fire. We laughed so hard. We cried for our kids. We just shared the moment so genuinely and so authentically. We actually decided when we entered our room early on in the pageant week, we said, okay, you and me are going to do this. We're going to give it our all and we're going to be in the top 2. We're going to stand on that stage together. We said that. We literally said that and it happened.
You just gave me goosebumps because it's like...
We said that and it actually happened, And we weren't just... Maybe we were fooling around, we were clowning, but we put it out there, we worked towards it, and we stressed for our interview judging, and here we are,
When did it become real for you? Because I love how sometimes we do things from a frivolous perspective so that if we don't do well, we can say, I was just trying, right? When was it like, okay, I actually want this? Like, because you went and did it because somebody was like, oh, go try. But you weren't right at the beginning invested where you're like, I want this crown.
I think when we were about to answer the top 3 question.
That far in.
Yeah,
That's
far in. That far in. That's
Wait,
where
world or South Africa?
World. South Africa, when I was here, if you look at the pictures when I was crowned, you can tell that I'm absolutely shocked.
Was it that Beyonce face? Did you see the face from the Grammys where they announced and she was like,
yes. My eyes are naturally big. I've never seen them bigger. And in South Africa, I was completely shocked. There was no way I was winning. I'm giving this my all. It's been great. I was like, okay, thank you, God. I have a top 5 finish, a great story to tell. And God was like, no, babes.
We're not
You
done.
have a top 1 finish.
Yeah.
Then Mrs. World, I think, where I realized that, okay, we could potentially win this. And I think I really want to win this. Top 3.
What was the last question you were asked?
The last question was, what is the one challenge you've had to overcome and how did you overcome it?
Ooh.
And how did you? And you think on your feet.
What did you answer?
My answer was social media. The pressures that social media puts on you to be perfect, to be thin, to be perfect skin, perfect hair, silky smooth hair, and light skinned, and this and that, and and for me, when I look back at my Mrs. South Africa journey and how I would say unconsciously maybe it prepared me for my Mrs. World journey, I just remember someone taking note of my authenticity and saying, you are so different, you are so authentic. And I was like, oh, that's nice. I'll keep that. I'll keep doing me, just me. And my answer on stage was that, social media is so powerful. You can spread a message across the world in a matter of minutes by the use of social media, in a matter of minutes. And how I overcame the pressure was to just be okay, find that sweet spot in my own skin and be okay with it. Just be okay with it. Be authentic. Remain authentic. And use social media to try and spread positivity. People will always be people. People say nasty things all the time. I mean, it's funny that since I was crowned, I've been looking at comments on Facebook and they just proved my answer right. They proved my answer right, that people will say the nastiest things to try and pressure you and to try and bring you down. But it doesn't change. It doesn't change who I am. It doesn't make me any less of a queen. It doesn't make me any less of being proud of who I am, So, yeah, that was my answer. The pressures of social media, which I've managed to overcome by staying my authentic self.
So, are you going to do with the platform you have now? And what are your duties?
Yeah. My duties basically is just to be a representative of the Mrs. World platform, and to use the platform.
I thought you were gonna say of the world.
Oh yeah,
when other people are meeting on different planets, you're gonna be like, "Hi, I'm here representing the world." Yes.
Hi, I'm here for the world. But also to use the platform for changes that we could literally see. I need to use it for sustainable change. So I actually have a non-profit organization called We Are Our Children's Keeper. And in my own little way, with my small network, I collect school shoes and I donate them to underprivileged school children. But I've always had this vision of wanting to see changes on a larger scale, It's sad for me to imagine that there's still children that cross rivers to get to school, children that are not safe, children that don't have safe facilities to learn in. And I really want to challenge myself and everyone else who wants to back my journey. For us to make those changes, let's build a bridge, and we can actually see that, oh, this is the bridge that we all collaborated to build. Let's build a bridge. Let's build a classroom, even if it's one classroom. Let's make changes that we can actually see that benefit children that we expect to then take over and, rule the world tomorrow, So that's really what I want to dedicate my year to doing. And to have fun at the same time, to showcase South Africa, South Africa's vibrancy, South Africa's beauty, South Africa's natural potential. When we I feel like we joke about the phrase that we lived by, South Africa's alive with possibilities, but it really is. It really,
No,
really
we joke
is.
when people do wild things that we're like, yay, it's alive with possibilities, right? But I think you have said it beautifully that that still is the core of who we are.
It really
And
is.
congratulations. I want to quickly read messages. One says, you make me so proud, Roy Maharaj in the Eastern Cape. Another one says, Relebogile, I'm going to use that line. I'm not leaving you. I'm choosing me today. Thank you, Mrs. World. And congratulations to you. In closing, what's the name of your firm?
My firm is Tshego Gaelae Attorneys. It's a legal consultancy. I focus on labor relations, triple BEE consultancy, and commercial agreements.
And she also has a YouTube channel where you are providing legal education.
Yeah.
And that is called My Lawyer's Corner. Ma'am, congratulations. Wear that crown high. And I'm pretty sure that your kid thinks you're the coolest mom for going to Vegas to win an international title on their birthday. We are so proud of you. And I hope you don't stop listening to the show.
No,
now
I
that
don't.
you got your sash.
I won't. I was listening on my way here. I heard you saying that you're going to speak to me. I listen to 702 all the time. So much so that I know that Clement was doing Bongani's show.
Yeah.
Bongani wasn't there. Yes, Bongani wasn't there.
I
Clement
love
was
it.
doing, and CD was doing Clement's show.
Yes. And then Mandy did her. Ma'am, you are a true fan.
I'm a
true
702. Can I also just say one thing quickly,
Yes.
quickly? If you just want to see yourself in my shoes, if that's what you want, and if pageants are your thing, and if you're a married woman in South Africa, Mrs. South Africa is still casting. Durban, Cape Town this weekend. Just show up for yourself. Take a chance on you. You never know. You never know.
My darling, thank you so much. It's just after 2:30.
702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Mabotja
on 702.